Hello, everybody. I hope I'm audible. That's great. Good to see you, JR and Kari. Always a pleasure. And we've got an exciting webinar lined up for everyone. So let's just give it another moment as I can see more and more students are joining. And meanwhile, I will just introduce myself and our panelists as well. All right, so today's session is a very exciting session. We have JR and Kari. They are the admissions directors at the Tepper Business School at Carnegie Mellon University. And I am your host. My name is Pavitra, and I'm the founder of Galvanize Global Education. A brief background. I did my master's at Stanford with a full scholarship, and then I worked in the Bay Area for a few years, and I came back to India. I was very passionate about education, and the idea behind starting Galvanize was to scale my personal journey which had such a transformative experience for me. Wanted to scale my journey of studying abroad for the next generation. So that is my story. And very happy to share that at Galvanize, we've guided a lot of students. So before we begin, and I want to make this session really interactive. So there's going to be a bunch of polls and questions. So please, let's get some answers to our first poll. How many of you have actually attended webinars like these or virtual online sessions where you learn about doing your higher education, pursuing your higher education abroad? You know, is this the first time? Have you attended these sessions? Oh, it's very close. Okay. So and I think post-COVID, our the opportunities and our comfort level in getting information from different sources has definitely increased. So, all right. Interestingly, I think we are about to wind up the poll now. So that was your last opportunity to answer this question. All right. Guess what? More than 60% of you have not attended these kinds of online events. That is very exciting because that means we have an opportunity to inform and create awareness among a lot more of you today. So that's great. So an introduction to Galvanize Global Education. So we provide end-to-end personalized guidance for anyone who aspires to pursue a global degree. And that means we help you with strengthening your profile and making your application attractive to universities using your strengths. And we guide you on the test preparation, and we also help you with admissions counseling and admissions guidance for all degrees, bachelor's, master's, MBA, PhD. And these are some of the countries from where students have enrolled with us for guiding them in their journey. And we've helped our students get accepted to more than 1,000 universities across so many countries, definitely the popular ones being the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, Singapore, and so on. And US is the most popular destination. So a couple of links which my team will share with you on the chat. We have some popular apps, and we have here you can just check out some reviews on Galvanize, especially our test prep and our admissions counseling. So without further ado, I don't think Carnegie Mellon University needs an introduction. But since some of you are new to the session, and we did get some inquiries from students who are just out of high school, also people who think really ahead, and working professionals. We have a lot of people from different backgrounds here today. So a quick intro, Carnegie Mellon University, it's a private research university in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is among the world's most renowned, most famous, and top quality education institutions. World University ranking number 24, number 15 in the US university rankings. Tepper is 18 among the best business schools. Guess what? Carnegie Mellon University is ranked number 1 for artificial intelligence, for information and technology management. And, that is where the future of the world is as we shape it. So this is really the place to be, right? I always say that it's more interesting to be where things are created than where things are consumed. So here's your opportunity to do that. And a little bit of introduction about Tepper. The Tepper School of Business is, they have the number 1 information systems, number 2 in business analytics, their programs. More than 400 startups have come out of individuals affiliated to Tepper School of Business. And this is, it's a fantastic opportunity. And we are very, very happy to have the people who can actually guide you on this today. So before we dive into all the questions that you have towards JR and Kari, I just want to share that at Galvanize Global Education, many of our students have also gone to do their master's or PhD or other programs at Carnegie Mellon University. These are just a few of our students. And if you wait till the end of the session, and we can guide you on what exactly they did to get there, right? So without further ado, our panelists for today, we have Jerry McGrath. I think he likes to be called JR. I will, and Kari with us. So quick introduction. Very, very interesting background. I have to say, I was super impressed. JR is the executive director of MBA admissions at the Tepper School of Business at CMU. What is very interesting is he had a bachelor's of science in physics, okay, for all you STEM people. And then he went on to pursue his master's in college administration. Totally relate to that switch. And I think that's going to be a separate, I'd love to know how he went about that process. He brings more than 18 years of experience working with high achieving college students. He continues that work at Tepper, where he joined the master's admissions team in 2021. And this is, he's right here, having breakfast, coffee, and going to answer all your questions. Our other co-panelist is Kari. She is the director of master's admissions at CMU's Tepper School of Business. She holds a BA in English Literature and a Master of Education. I mean, you have really, found your calling. Guiding students who do their master's programs at one of the world's most renowned educational institutions. And Kari leads the admissions operations for all of the master's programs at Tepper, and especially the MS product management, the MS in business analytics. These are some, immensely popular programs, and we see today, especially amongst international students. I know there are a lot of exciting career opportunities for graduates as well. So she's going to be answering all your questions on these today. So JR and Kari, welcome to today's session with Galvanize. I hope you're all excited, and are you ready for the questions? Yes?
You're excited and ready.
All right.
Thank you for that.
That's
Bring it on.
So before we get into the questions, I want to also ask if our audience is ready. Now, how keen are you all to know about CMU's admissions process? We're going to focus on the Tepper School today. Come on, how excited are you? Our panelists are excited.
Yeah, we like
I'm excited. All right. This looks very beautiful. Close to 80% of them are very, very keen. So There we go. Right. So everybody is excited. Please have a pen and paper handy, or type your notes on your preferred app or whatever. Just make sure that you have a means to jot down some important points that JR and Kari would have to share with you, because as the saying goes, the information and the wisdom today comes to you from the horse's mouth, so to speak. You will not find a better source of knowledge when it comes to us, Carnegie Mellon University, Tepper Business School, and any of these programs and the job opportunities there. So this is really exciting for me. I do want to share that while we have already gotten so many questions from our audience, and I've put together some of the questions here. I request our panelists to probably take maybe a minute or two for each question, because we've lined up a lot of them. And afterwards, if we have time, and if students and working professionals, our audience has more questions in the chat, then we can get to live questions, live Q&A at the end. So please stick around, and you may have an opportunity to ask your questions too. All right, so let's deep dive into the programs that Tepper offers, right? So we're going to go through one program at a time, and you can tell us all about the program, what makes it unique, what kinds of applicants the program attracts, what do they get to learn, like what is their experience at Tepper going to be like, what are some career opportunities, what would be the ROI, the STEM accreditation. So this is an opportunity to introduce each program one by one. So our first program here is the MSPM, the Master of Science in Product Management. So over to you.
I'm happy to take that one. Thank you. And thank you for that super kind introduction. I got very excited about Carnegie Mellon all over again. So thank you all for being here. So first with this, we call it our MSPM program. This, in the spirit of Tepper's specialty master's programs, is our oldest, quote unquote. So I think we're headed into our 7th or 8th cohort with that. So it has been around the last several years. This program is really unique in that it is a partnership between our school, the Tepper School of Business, and Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science. And that's really, really incredible. For a one-year program, half of your curriculum is spent in the Tepper School. So of course your business curriculum, and then half is spent in the School of Computer Science, which also houses our Human Computer Interaction Institute. And so, so that's a really unique program. That program is for, of course, candidates who are interested in pursuing that degree to become product managers, technical product managers. We can, I'm sure, get into it in a little bit of, can I do an MBA and specialize in product management? What's the difference? I will say one of the main is our graduates typically are technical product managers, typically have between 5 and 7 years of work experience. That's kind of the sweet spot for us. Lots have advanced degrees, so have had an MBA before. So really, in a one-year course, you have an internship halfway through. So it's actually an off-cycle start. So it's a spring start. The application just launched last week, so hot off the press. For spring 2025 start. And so we won't start reviewing applications for another 6 weeks or so. All of our deadlines are posted to our website, but this one is off cycle. And so you start in January, you have a semester of classes, and then you have a summer internship. You return in the fall, do one more semester, and then you graduate in the next December. So that's a really unique part of the program. In that time, candidates are taking classes from both Tepper and the School of Computer Science with classes in Human Computer Interaction Institute. So lots going on there, and opportunity for folks that have a little bit more work experience. We can talk, depending on what program is next, if you don't have that kind of sweet spot of 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or if you're kind of just out of college or maybe a little bit past that, what that looks like and what programs might be right for you. But that's a little bit more about our MSPM program.
Thank you so much. It makes me feel excited. I feel like I wish to apply. So always had a soft
The application
spot
is open.
Thank you. So our next program here is the Master of Science in Business Analytics, and this is also very popular. So
yeah,
tell us
me
all about
again.
it.
Me again. So this program followed the launch of the MSPM program about a year after that. It initially launched in our part-time online MSBA format, which still exists to this day. The exact same program, though, launched. We are in our second cohort, recruiting for our third, in a full-time on-campus format of the MS in Business Analytics. So that full-time program formally launched 2 years ago. It is also a quick 10-month program, 9-month, 10-month program. In that time, so folks are getting ready to graduate in a couple months, and it feels like they just got here. So this MS in, we were on business analytics, and now we're on MSM, or did I mess that up?
Sorry. I think my
there we go.
There.
I just didn't want to be talking about BA when I'm supposed to be talking about MSM. So thank you, Bob. So this MS in Business Analytics is another incredibly unique program. This is housed entirely within the Tepper School, but certainly we have opportunities across campus from a co-curricular standpoint to take elective coursework, but this is a 9-month coursework. This program, the full-time MS in Business Analytics, which is STEM designated, which can provide sponsorship, so 10-month program, all housed in the Tepper School. This is really a pre-professional program. And so what we mean by that, or pre-experience, are candidates contrary to the MSPM, which would like a little bit more experience. These are for candidates either just out of undergrad, finishing up their senior year, maybe have 1 or 2 years of work experience. Certainly there's outliers, and we're happy to have individual conversations about those. But in speaking with in doing our research, because we're Carnegie Mellon and employers, post-graduation employers are really looking for candidates in that pre-experience timeframe. So a couple years of work experience just out of undergrad, still with some relevant internships, relevant coursework. Both the PM program and this MSBA are technical programs. I know, speaking with this audience, lots of interest in kind of the technical background. You do not have to have a technical background. You have to have some aptitude. And again, we can talk a little bit more about that. I think there were some questions. But you do get technical coursework, but also business coursework. I think what really separates our business analytics, because it's everywhere right now. Every industry you look at is utilizing business analytics. You fly on a plane, that's analytics. Of course, your traditional tech companies, that's analytics. Our students have worked with blood donation centers, that's analytics, because they're looking at, blood donation, at least in the United States, has dropped off post-COVID. And so looking at optimizing membership, things like everywhere you look is business analytics. But what's the difference between data analytics and business, at least for us, is the business component. So our curriculum combines the technical skills, the analytical skills, using data to inform decisions, but also the business side. How do you communicate? How do you talk? How do you convince stakeholders? How do you get buy-in? And so this MSBA program, the curriculum is really nice in that it's a combination of technical skills, but also learning those business fundamentals as well, managing people in teams, and really getting an opportunity to be a business analyst. Because we used to have this marketing campaign that said it's not enough to be the smartest person in the room. And it was talking about our Accelerate Leadership Center, which I'm sure JR and I will highlight. Essentially, though, what that means is if you can solve these really technical problems and you can get up to the whiteboard and you can take it all out, but if you can't take what that is and you can't communicate it, you can't lead a discussion on it, then it's not enough to be the smartest person. So the MSBA program, pre-professional or pre-experience, it's a 1-year program, STEM designated, pardon me, and opportunity at the end. Folks are going into analyst roles, data analyst roles, business analyst roles. We have 1 year of data, so we have 1 graduating class, and so I think it's still evolving. We're seeing more interest in consulting. We're seeing some interest in some banking roles. So it's been exciting to be along for that ride. So I'll end the MSBA.
And that was such a very thorough description. And what struck me was, that a lot of Indian students study engineering for their bachelor's degree, right? It's almost a rite of passage in many parts of the country. And trust me, there are so many who do not wish to go deeper into engineering, but they sort of got pushed into it. And I see the master's, or the MS Business Analytics as an opportunity for them to move away from their core domain of engineering while still putting to use the analytic skills that they picked up in this kind of a technical program. So we see that a lot. A lot of people, students come to us saying, I want to move away from engineering, but I want to still be on the, put the analytical part of meetings. So we often recommend this kind of program. Great. So our next deep dive is the
surprise, MSM. So the MSM is our brand new program, not new in the sense of the curriculum or the resources. But this is a program, this is a full-time 1-year MS in management. Similar to a master's in management, but we think it's really important that it is a Master of Science in Management, STEM designated. And so you have the opportunity. This program is a little bit more unique in that when it launched, and so we announced it back in September, this will be a fall start, 1-year program. This is for candidates who are pre-experienced again, so in that 0, 1, 2-year time frame, but who really haven't had business coursework before. And so, or maybe have had some coursework, but didn't formally study it. I always think of it like you kind of wish you had, and maybe time passed you by, or you were too far into maybe an engineering major. So that's an excellent example of somebody who might consider this program. So this MS in Management is the opportunity to take business coursework. We think at least in the first year, that it will likely be some sort of folded in with our MBA classes, taking similar curriculum. We are going to keep this program, all of Tepper is intentionally small so that we really do foster our tight-knit community. The MSM program will continue to follow that of being intentionally small so that we ensure we've got the right resources, the right support. So this program is for students who perhaps don't have that formal business background, engineers, even as far as I was an English major, as you all saw. It would depend on my ability to be successful in what I've taken in my academic prep. But for somebody who's not coming from a formal business background, this 1-year degree into business in our business school curriculum, you have the opportunity to specialize in a couple different areas, which I'm happy to talk about. And so it really gives you that introduction to business. The hope with this program is folks graduate, get a couple years of work experience, and then want to come back and they can apply for our accelerated MBA program. And that really, I think, ties into when JR will talk, but this is not an MBA. This is not a deep dive into that. This is really the opportunity to get that initial skill set within MSM or MS in Management within business school, and then ultimately, hopefully, return a couple years later and be a really strong candidate for one of our accelerated MBA programs. So it is new. I don't have like careers to, anything like that. We think folks will likely end up, some of the areas they can study, there's finance, there's operations, there's marketing. So we think they'll likely end up in those roles. All of the programs that I am talking about and that JR will talk about are supported by our Master's Career Center. They are a dedicated resource only working across Tepper Master's students. And so this MSM program, while it's new, the resources are established and the resources have existed for years and years at Tepper. So really, we've kind of taken a lot of what we've already been doing and created this new program, but really the things aren't new to us.
Thank you so much. I especially appreciate you highlighting the difference between an MIM program, a Master's in Management, with the MSM program. And that would be relevant to a lot of our students. So thank you. And here is the Master of Science in Computational Finance. Please.
Me or you, JR?
Well, why don't I jump in just for a second and we'll briefly go over this, but a couple themes that I think are coming in through the chat as well as, so maybe let me just address a couple things super quick and then we'll kind of jump back into like the individual programs. Navigating and understanding what degree program is the best fit for you right now is more difficult now than it ever has been because business schools have been essentially expanding their portfolios. Because when we do this, we look at what are trends going on, like what are the skill sets needed in the future? What are corporations? What are those organizations that hire our talent? What are they looking for? So these things evolve over time. It used to be when you looked at top business schools, you would have maybe like an MBA program, you would have just like a couple versions, and it was pretty easy to figure out which one do I fit into. When you look at all these, in particular for Tepper, every master's program that we have is STEM designated. But that's the first part of that equation. So when you're STEM designated, we're going to provide you an education that would be eligible for you to get that additional work authorization. So that was up to 3 years, which helps you on the H-1B visa process. However, you also need to find a job that a company will say, this is a STEM designated job. And that's the second part of that equation. And we will help you with all that. But that's essentially what you need to figure out to make sure that you can get those additional years of work authorization without getting an additional visa. And one other thing that I'm going to share here, because I think this is where it gets interesting. With MS programs, because I saw this question go in, like, should I do an MBA with business analytics or should I do a Master of Science in Business Analytics? Master of Science programs are designed for really two main reasons. One, to give you a specific skill set because you know exactly what you want to do after. So if you think about like, and we'll even use MSPM, the first program we talked about. If you, and Kari said, like some of these students already have some of these other degrees, maybe it's an undergrad in electrical engineering or software engineering, maybe a master's degree, MBA, et cetera. But these programs are geared towards a specific career field and industry, and they're going to really help you in that way. So some of it is just very tailored. The other is that you'll hear a lot of these pre-experience programs. And you know, you even talked about this as well, right? Like a lot of students from India had that rite of passage of going through an engineering degree, but realize they don't ever really want to have a full career in engineering. So these programs are designed for someone that maybe has done a different undergraduate degree that wants to start moving into a business area, but they need that skill set, that acumen, that kind of business lens to be able to make that pivot. So that's the other reason for these MS degrees that are more on the pre-experience side, that you want to be able to make this pivot, but you need that skill set to do so, as well as the obviously the relationship and the network that we have. So let's briefly go over MSCF. MSCF is in a way like our MSPM program in that this is a joint venture with the university. So it's not just the Tepper School, it's multiple schools within Carnegie Mellon University to have students that want to go into, and it's very directed, right? Like computational finance. This is definitely a finance degree, but if you're looking for something more overarching, this is probably not the right program for you. We have 2 locations for this program. We have students that are here in Pittsburgh, and we have students that are in New York City, right? Like the financial hub of the United States. This is a very quantitative, a very technical computational finance. So when you talked about maybe those like engineers before that have those phenomenal quantitative skills that love those like really hard, cumbersome problems, but maybe instead of using those variables, right, I'll pull from my physics background, right, those variables that are a little bit more not tangible, to go right into changing those really difficult math equations into something that goes directed towards a specific industry or function like finance. So this is a phenomenal program. There's usually about 50 students in Pittsburgh, 50 students in New York City, and then you have that opportunity to kind of work, you know, within those 2 different cohorts. But this one in particular, you need to have those strong quantitative skills because they're going to weight that heavier in the admissions process.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah,
I'll add as
Kari,
well.
anything to add?
Well, no, not about MSC. I think I really, no, nothing for that. But what I do want to say, we have jumped right in here, and it may seem to you a little bit like you're in the deep end and you haven't quite learned how to swim yet. This is meant to kind of just be like just skimming the surface, just providing you information. If your head is kind of swirling and I don't really know, you've got all these questions, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for tonight, but that's also what our office exists for, right? So we host information sessions, ask me anything sessions. You know, JR and I live and breathe this, so we can share this. If this is your first time hearing about a lot of this and you're wondering what's the right fit for me, check out our website, check out, the opportunities that we have. You're not going to be an expert on these programs after today's session, even if you've done a little bit of research before, and that's okay. This is really just a time to see, like, is there one or two things that we say that maybe stick out to you and kind of you take away as like, wait a minute, they said something about pre-experience. What was pre-experience? Check out our website, send us an email. That's why after today, JR and I don't go away. Our office, our teams don't go away. And so I think there's probably going to be so much information from this, but know that we have things in place to continue to educate, to continue to share. I can't talk to you and say, do this program, don't do this program. That's a personal decision, a professional decision. But what JR and I and our teams can do is kind of guide you and say, here's typically who we see in these programs. So maybe that's like the mom and me coming out of like, nobody get overwhelmed. So know that we're gonna keep sharing lots of information because we're just so excited. But this can just be the beginning of the conversation.
In fact, we do have a few questions lined up that address the points that you brought up, right? In terms of how do I choose, which program's the best fit for me, or what is a typical, or what is a good applicant profile look like? So we do have a few more questions. So maybe I can sort of skim through this piece and we get to more of those questions, right? So maybe, do you want to talk about this, or can I go on to the MBA or to the other programs, or dive into the applicant piece of it?
Give the MBA some time, right?
Right? Okay. Yeah. So we will be getting to the MBA. There are a lot of questions lined up for the MBA and the PhD program separately. But as you said, how do I choose the right program? There's so many good ones out there.
Yeah, and I think Kari alluded to this already. I think going to a school's website and spending 5 minutes will probably start helping you kind of narrow these things down. If you're trying to figure out where you fit initially, and it's more based on your profile, right? Like, do I have enough work experience? What is the background of people coming in? On our page, but as well as almost every other business school, are going to have class profiles. So look at that. That's going to be a really good understanding for you to say, like, okay, I'm interested in this program. It sounds really cool. I have 2 years of work experience, but the average for that program is 7. I could be a little bit of an outlier. That doesn't mean that like it's a definite no, but you're already starting to realize, okay, that's not something that aligns really well with me so far. So I think that's one thing. The second thing is, and this is also where it gets really interesting, right? Is like, every school will have a curriculum page. So look at our curriculum pages and try to look at that and see what is the type of coursework, what is the type of flexibility in that coursework. Do these courses sound interesting to me? So you can start kind of narrowing down. What I would say, because Kari also said this, is, reach out to us, reach out to students. There's people here to help you. Everybody has been in your position before that is at these schools. They want to help you, but come with a couple good questions, right? And you can get really far if you have done a little bit of research first and then have a conversation. But if you haven't done that research piece first, it's really hard for someone without any context to be able to help you move down that road. So a little bit of research, then have a conversation.
That's great. Thank you, JR. And, when you enroll with Galvanize, it's just a word of advice. Because our admissions counselors have guided hundreds of students to make the right decisions for them, they will also be able to look at your experience and give you some pointers in the right direction. So that is something, an option as well. So this was an interesting question. For someone who is a domain expert, who's already spent sufficient time building their expertise in a field, and now they want to rise to the top of their organization, however that is defined for them, what would be the right program?
So that's an excellent question, and I would say for the most part, the default answer would likely be MBA. One, because of work experience. One, because you already have that, we'll call that the subject matter expert, right? Like the domain expert in a certain area. But once you get to the top of, we'll call that the organizational food chain, the type of work that you're going to do is more related to strategy, more related to balance sheets, more related to resource allocation, et cetera, right? And those are the skill sets that you develop in the MBA. And Kari mentioned this even before, right? Of like, it's not always about being able to solve that problem, but then how do you communicate that out, right? Leadership and communication is a core component of MBAs. And and in particular for us, like we want to make sure that you're not only able to solve those problems, but can you communicate clearly to a wide level of stakeholders? Can you get others to buy into your vision? It's going to make those really cool, innovative solutions much more powerful. So it's typically going to be an MBA. An outsider on this one could be that MSPM, because maybe when you're thinking in your head like, hey, I want to be head of product for maybe it's a small or medium or large company, like maybe the product management degree could be helpful for you there, depending on where you're talking about within that organization. But typically it would be that MBA program.
Wonderful. Thanks for, validating our assumptions. So speaking of the MBA program, now we've got questions from students who say, I have 2 years of work experience. I have 4 years of work experience. I have more than 5 years of work experience. How would an MBA from Tepper benefit me professionally, and what makes a Tepper MBA unique?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So and let me, I guess, say it in this way, right? Like as we're doing this session, and this is much more of a global session, most candidates, I believe, that are here with us today would be considered more of like an international candidate rather than like a US citizen. So I'm going to answer the question a little bit in that way because I think that hits most of our audience today. Couple things that you need to consider. You need to consider your career goals. There are some jobs, there are some companies that are very specific in their hiring patterns. So you say like, I want to go and I want to do consulting and I want to do, say, like MBB, or I want to do a certain thing. We know some of those trends with those companies. For example, like a lot of times they really want the 3 to 8 years experience. It's very rare for certain companies to hire outside of that for full time. So not that you need to be an expert on that, but you need to start thinking through that. And when you get that feedback, you want to make sure that you kind of, take it and understand it. So typically if you're in the 3 to 8 year, there isn't a whole lot of things holding you back. Once you get past that 8 years, that's, I think, where you want to start asking those questions to the school and say, I am a more seasoned professional. What could still be those opportunities for me? I'm interested in this type of career. And some schools could be a really great fit and some schools may not be a great fit. For us, going into strategy consulting would be difficult when you're in that 10 plus years experience making that pivot. But maybe some more technology roles, maybe some more product roles, maybe some more like that require that subject matter expertise could still be available to you. But you really want to make sure that there's going to be those opportunities, because as an international candidate, not every company sponsors for every role. So you're already taking like the number of jobs and then you're kind of shrinking that. And then when you add these other factors that are unique to you, and if you keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, it's going to be about balancing that risk for you as a candidate, as well as for the school saying, can we support you in the way that you needed to be supported? Does that get to the root of your question?
Absolutely. And I thank you for that very nuanced response. There are no black and white answers to these questions, but you definitely gave, shown light upon some important factors to consider while making, one's decision. So thank you for that. So this was a very popular question as well. There are MBAs and there are MBAs, right? I can specialize in so many different aspects, right? From marketing to HR to, various things. So what MBA specialization should I opt for?
Yeah. So here's a way to research specifically for us, because not everyone will do this. Almost every school will have at least their most recent career report online, so someone can kind of see what are the areas or industries that they have more students going into, which usually would relate to stronger relationships or recruiting pipelines into those areas. For us, if you do a little bit more digging and go over to our career page and go over to our recruiter page, there's actually 5 or 7 years of career reports. So you could even look at those, look at the trends. What I will tell you right now is if you look at our career reports on the MBA side over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, we kind of had consulting and tech neck and neck. Over the last 2 years, we've seen consulting kind of rise up over technologies, tech still being kind of like number two for us, and finance and marketing, all those other like normal functionalities. So the reason why consulting has gone up so far is it's always interesting with trends. Different companies and industries, if they're doing really, really well, they want to go after that best MBA talent. So they may do things like raise their average salary or offer additional benefits that maybe some of those other industries are not offering. Overall, right now in the US, for the last 2 or 3 years, every school's consulting numbers have gone through the roof because they have had the highest starting salary. They have been hiring at a really good rate. They sponsor, so almost every candidate is able to really take advantage of that. But you need to be, ask those good questions, right? Because right now, consulting, because they have had such a good run, they may have overhired, and in some areas, because of economic uncertainty, they've kind of pulled back on hiring or moving start dates out. So I don't think consulting will kind of be that leader with as much margin as had over the last years at Tepper and every other school. I think technology will be there. I think finance for us is on the rise. And in particular, those three that I mentioned are typically the industries that will sponsor. Not every single company in every single industry, but for the most part, those where the bulk of the opportunities are.
So a quick follow-up question. To work at a consulting company, what specialization within the MBA would make more sense,
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. And let's just talk about like a career outcome in consulting. Consulting, it sounds like it is kind of like a one career outcome, but there were so many different types of consulting, right? Like you have strategy consulting, you have M&A consulting, you have tech consulting. So it depends, right? So like you always want to think about what is that work that you want to do later? What are the skill sets needed for that type of work? So I can't tell you that consulting has like, if you do this concentration, you're going to be able to get this role. Because a lot of times you have to pair what is that experience you've had before, and then what are those gap skill sets or things that you already have, but you need to sharpen a little bit more. A lot of our students will, though, they'll do a lot in our strategy area. A lot that want to kind of do consulting within specific industries. Like we have a healthcare analytics. We have a lot of students going to healthcare consulting. So it's a more about what is the type of consulting or the type of group that you want to go into. Because at the end of the day, we can put all of these opportunities in front of you, and that's what they are. This is not placement. This is something that we're going to put you in an environment where you're going to have the opportunities to interact with these companies, network with these companies, but it's up to you to build your skill set and your story to be able to solidify these opportunities. So it's a little bit more of almost like you said, that nuanced answer before is there are some things that we would, suggest that you do that maybe is a little bit more across the board, but for the most part, it's going to be that individual looking in the mirror and your own resume is saying, what do I need to do to be successful within this industry?
Thank you so much.
And we have the career coaches that will help you do that. So this is not, you need to come up with it on your own. But anyways.
Yeah. And I love that Kari mentioned about Tepper Career Services, pretty well established and focused on helping students, equip themselves for the right career decisions. So that's great. So this was another question, quite a strongly worded question, but I thought I would put it to you. Multiple people asked us this. We know of successful product managers with only a bachelor's degree. Why would an MSPM give me an advantage, Kari?
Yeah, that's a great question and a fair one. Similar would be, I know of certificate programs where I can get a certificate in product management. Why should I go for an MSPM? And so I think it's the opportunity of like, number one is employment opportunities. And so, you have the full career center resources, you have the advanced curriculum. So especially today, so I guess my answer would be, what type of product managers are they? What type of product manager do you want to be? Are they technical product managers? Are they associate product managers? And so I think that because there's such a wide range, sure, you can go be successful. And so that's why I would say, take a look at our curriculum, a curriculum, especially with AI just bursting everywhere, and and looking at, do you have formal education in that, or are you going to be looking for employers who want you to have formal education in that? Are you going to look for the network? How do you continue to advance your career? Even if you're starting out as a product manager, what career advancement are you looking for? Because with only speaking of our program specifically, you get the Carnegie Mellon network, you get the alumni, you get the alumni base, you get the opportunity to work with a career counselor who's going to help you tailor your resume to specific companies that you're looking for, companies who are going to require an advanced degree. It's what sets you apart when you're looking at the competitiveness of the Googles, the Amazons, the Apples, the Metas, and those sorts of things. So yeah, you can be successful. You're totally right with a bachelor's degree with a certificate program. I would just, my recommendation would be to look at your career trajectory and where you want to be. What skill set do you think that you have developed with a bachelor's degree, and do you think you'll continue to develop outside of getting a formalized master's degree that's are taught from experts? Is a program launched by product managers? Is a program that has connections with different product management professional organizations, and opportunities to attend conference, and kind of all of the things that come from that. So I think it's just being able to really invest in your career trajectory with a master's degree in it.
Thank you for that, and especially the opportunity to take classes at Carnegie Mellon's computer science school,
right?
Pretty sought after. So it's a great opportunity. So what I'm going to do now, given that we have the clock is ticking, is let's run through some more questions, but maybe take 30 seconds. It's going to be like a rapid fire round, and one of you can just pick and go for it, right? So this is a question for, I have no work experience. Can I still apply for these programs? And I think Kari talked about the pre-professional. Can you just spell that out really succinctly?
Right. So let me, and I'll try and keep it brief. There's no experience and there's no prior experience in that area. So for any of these programs, so I will say we do not do admissions for computational finance. I'm happy to facilitate with their admissions director. But so for MSBA, MSPM, you don't need prior experience in that area. So I'll leave that there. From a pre-professional or pre-experience standpoint, MSPM, we would like you to have professional experience. That's what recruiters have said. So PM, I would say 3 years of experience, 4 years, 5 years of experience. The business analytics program, so eligible. So there's nothing that's going to count you out. Again, there's always outliers. There's no part of our application that prohibits you from submitting the application if you put a 0 for months of work experience. Again, that's when you're going to want to look at the class profile. Business analytics, though, that's where the program has been designed. So I'll leave it at that. So no prior, you don't have to be an analyst. You don't have to be a programmer. I think aptitude is there for it. Product management, you don't have to have been a product manager. In fact, many of ours are not. They're engineers, they're developers, they're analysts. So that's my answer.
Great. Thank you. JR, 30 seconds. What is unique about PhD at Tepper Business School, and what kinds of research do they do?
Yeah, so I'll try to summarize the next two because I obviously know what's coming next as well. We do not run admissions for PhD programs. Our colleague Lawrence does. Our PhD programs here are small. They are very tailored. It's much more about understanding what areas do we have, and in particular, the faculty members that run those programs, because you would really be helping and come in and doing research focused in the areas where we do research within those functional areas of business. So do that first. There's a great page there. And we'd be happy to connect you with Lawrence and/or Alan Montgomery, which is the head of our PhD programs, to help you along as long as you've done that initial research.
Wonderful. So let me skip the PhD question again. And now this is a question that a lot of students have been asking us.
In the chat too.
Yep, in the chat too. Yeah. So please.
Yeah, let me take this real quick. The easy way to say this is, we know the biggest reason someone's coming back for a master's degree is to have additional career opportunities. So we do start there. So when we're looking at a candidate, we want to understand what is on their resume already, what are their career goals, and then we start to make that first assessment of, can we help them develop into that professional they want to be to get into those career opportunities that they're looking for. Once that is a yes, that's where we then go into, can you do the coursework? What are your grades in undergraduate? What are your test scores? What are those other things? Overall, when there isn't a specific weightage, I know everybody wants to know the exact rubric, right? Like this is worth 10%, this is 15%, but it's more about initially, do you fit us? Can you be successful in the classroom? Can we help you on that career side? That's the first part. So once you're essentially like admissible, right? And there's going to be a bigger population of those that are admissible than we can actually admit. Then we go in and we kind of like start to compare that admissible pile to each other to say who are the top candidates and like who sticks out at those that would be those top candidates for us. And a lot of times that is going to be, you know, do you have the work experience that we're looking for to lead you into the career goals you talked about? Do you have the quantitative ability, both in previous coursework, and if you don't have it in coursework, also on test scores to be able to be competitive within the classroom? So maybe that's not exactly giving everybody the weightage to it, but that's how we're going to look at and review applications. So hopefully that was enough information for you to think how you would want to put your application forward to be successful.
Thank you. So first quantitatively and then qualitatively, right? Going to assess that. Great. So a quick poll, and we're going to keep it really brief, like 5 seconds. How many of you have already started working on your college applications? It's important because it takes time. If you're aiming for fall 25, the application deadlines are probably late this year. So hope you have made progress. And if not, then it's time to get started. All right. So as you continue to answer that, I'm going to go to the next question. This is like a 10-second response. If I have to choose between the GRE and the GMAT, which exam should I take for Tepper?
We do not have a preference. Choose the test that you're going to perform the best.
That's a fantastic answer. Thank you. That's awesome. Great. Next question. Suppose a student got accepted for a particular intake and decided not to join. Would they have a higher chance of being accepted if they reapply, or would their chances be reduced?
It has no bearing on a future admissions decision. What I can say to this is, if you were successful 1 year, you will likely be successful in a future year. However, we can never predict what that actual applicant pool will be in the next year. So I would feel confident, but know that nothing is guaranteed.
Yep. As
Kari, anything to add to that?
Thank you. Does CMU have a deferred MBA program? And if so, what are the eligibility criteria? 30 seconds if you can, and we'll do another session entirely on the deferred MBA since you have a lot of people asking us about it.
We do. And typically we are looking for those that have a US undergrad for eligibility for that program.
Okay, great. This is a common question. Can I apply to more than one program at Carnegie Mellon University, say one at Tepper and one at a different school for the same intake?
You can, but you can't attend both. So Carnegie Mellon is decentralized in that and JR and I have kind of basically said that when answering our questions. We do admissions for the programs in which we've said, software engineering does their own admission, computer science does their own admission. They are independent of each other. You can be admitted to one, not admitted to one, admitted to both. We do have some formal joint degree or dual degree programs, but so you can apply to as many across Carnegie Mellon as you want, but you can't attend both at the same time.
So we've heard a lot about the interdisciplinary nature of courses and programs at CMU. So what new opportunities open up because of the interdisciplinary nature?
Yeah, so super quick on this. Every school, just like, and we do this for students outside of Tepper, the best way to explain this. We have our students they get first access to those classes. Once those classes are done with their core students, then those classes are opened up. As long as you meet the prereq for that course in another institution or another college within CMU, you would be eligible to take that course. We do not have limits on the number that you can take outside of Tepper. And depending on that course, a lot of times you can also take that pass-fail. So you can go across and it's more about learning, pushing your learning rather than saying like, you know, if you're a business student, no one thinks you're going to go set the curve over in CS or public policy or others, right? It's more about you expanding your horizon. So you can take classes across the university. And the one that may seem odd is we have one of the best drama schools in the world, and acting for business is actually one of the most popular electives outside of Tepper because it really helps everybody create that command and presence of a space and feel comfortable in those environments to make sure that they can get that message across to a wide variety of stakeholders.
That was fantastic and informative. Just 3 or 4 more questions, real quick. Scholarships for international students.
So we review, we have merit-based scholarships. So what that means is they are based on what you submit in your application. So international, domestic, your application for admission is also your application for merit-based scholarship. So because there's nothing additional that you need to do. So doing the work and putting that into your application. So no minimum requirements except for submitting your application. And so, of course, you want to submit as competitive application as you can, test scores, the essay, all those things go into that. So it is merit-based. It is not need-based. It is not need-based for anyone, international or domestic. Merit-based scholarship gets you, we review all applications for consideration for that. At the time of admission, when we provide admission decisions, if offered admission, we also provide any merit scholarship that has been offered as well.
Thank you. We generally do tell our students, right, you try to submit the best application you can, and if the university really, really wants you, they will try and extend a scholarship. So
Sure.
it depends on how attractive your profile is to the institute, right? This was an interesting question. A student in high school is already dreaming of doing their master's at CMU. The family does not want them to go abroad for undergraduate degree. Sure. What do they do in the next few years?
You want me to take that one, Kari, or?
Well, yeah, either way. I was trying to formulate. I was like, what do they do for the next couple years?
So here's what I would say, and I can use this for us, but I would say I've been on panels with almost every other top business school in the world, as Kari has. Here would be some of the suggestions. If you know that you already want to do a master's degree, then when you're an undergraduate, think of this in a way, because we just talked about scholarship as well. Be very intentional about what you do during your undergraduate. Your grades in undergraduate are going to be probably one of those, better indicators if you're going to be able to fit into those master's programs. So make sure you're getting grades, at like the above average, if not in the excellent range. Think through some of those experiences that you have. If you already know what area you want to do a master's and maybe it's different than your undergraduate, or even in the same area, think about what work experiences and or opportunities that you're using to spend your time outside the classroom. So are you consistently building your resume towards being a strong candidate for there? If you know that there's gaps in your undergraduate for what you would need in your master's, you may not even have to do those at your college, but like, how are you going to develop those skills? Do you do those classes online? If maybe your undergrad is not coding, but you'll need that for graduate school. It's up to you. Pace these things out and think through what you can do. But in particular, the best thing you can do in undergraduate, keep your grades up.
Thank you. So please reduce the partying, right? Late nights are for studying. And,
hey, you need to unwind too, but make sure that it's still the highest priority. The grade.
Any last words of advice before we wrap up the current session, and then I'll be talking some more about our students.
Just get to know your fit. Talk to our students. Come to the events that we have virtual. I know for this audience, virtual is probably better. So aside from the advice that JR just gave about grades and those sorts of things, but you hear so much about Carnegie Mellon, but what have you actually asked about, and what have you actually asked the people who are here and the students who are here? JR and I can give you a lot about our programs, but neither of us have a Tepper MBA. Neither of us have a Tepper MS degree. Talk to the people who've lived it and who are doing it. So that's what I would say is don't be a stranger, come to the events, sign up for the communication plan that we have that sends out emails to you, and just really gather as much information as you can about life here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And while I do thank JR and Kari for having taken their time, students, please fill out more questions. And I still am going to talk to you about how Galvanize helps students get accepted to CMU. And in the meanwhile, I think JR and Kari have another meeting to hop on to. Right, so it was so nice of you to spend time with us. And I, any suggestions you have, for more questions, more sessions, let's feel free to reconnect and do let us know.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much fun today. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Right. So, so this question was about how you felt the session was. I'm glad that more than half of you found it very useful, which means you are very interested and passionate about getting accepted to a university like Carnegie Mellon. And it is no doubt the top university. It's among the top worldwide. And it's definitely prestigious. High-end research is happening out there. It's not every university that gets to be ranked #1 for say artificial intelligence and so on. So how can you increase your chances of getting accepted at Carnegie Mellon? That's what I'm going to talk about right now. And before I proceed, I would just love to hear if you think that this is something you'd be interested in. Just let us know with a yes in the chat. So depending on that, I can get into more detail if you'd like. So please let us know if this is interesting for you. Great. So how can you increase your chances of getting accepted to CMU? What I'm going to do is I will show you a few of our students who got accepted to CMU here. And before that, I just want a quick heads up. How do you plan to seek assistance for your admissions process? I know you're setting your aspirations high. You want to get accepted to a top school like the CMU. And I can give you guidance on behalf of Galvanize, definitely. But how do you plan to go get this information, and how do you plan to go about applying? Who is your source of information? Who will support you during the process? And what experts or expertise are you looking to help you make these very important steps, take these steps and make these complex decisions? Okay. I hope you've all had a chance to respond to this. I'm just going to give you a few more seconds, because as you heard today, getting into a top university is life-changing. It's transformative, and how what support and guidance we rely on throughout that process can deeply, can profoundly, influence the outcome, right? So, coming to Galvanize, because these are students who have been, these are our students at Galvanize who have been accepted to Carnegie Mellon, right? And actually, we have many, many more such students. I'm just showing you 10 because I can only fit 10 students onto a slide. So I picked these 10 students because I wanted to show you they're from different institutes, right? You have students from IIT Bombay, considered the best engineering university in India. You have students from IIIT, VIT, SRM, BITS, Pilani, NIIT, law, all kinds of institutions, and so many more students. And what was common to them? They all were very clear about their goals, their aspirations. And when they came to Galvanize, they said, hey, this is our profile, but how can we strengthen it? What inputs do you have? How do we do well on our test? Which exam do I take? How do I, write my SOP, my essays? So I think, to me, the the opportunity to guide so many students to get accepted to top schools is what makes being at Galvanize very worthwhile, right? I get up in the morning, and I can say this on behalf of my team as well. We are so motivated to know that we are pushing the boundaries for students across the world to to create great outcomes by enabling educational experiences that are world class, right? So how do we go about this? So when our students enroll, and all of these students enroll with us, right? These are all students who enroll with Galvanize for their admissions counseling needs. So the first step that we do is we evaluate your profile. And so after you enroll with us, we have a very in-depth profile evaluation. It's going to be with an admissions counselor who has guided students personally, hundreds of students, to get accepted to top universities. And this is a very in-depth form. It is not the profile evaluation that you're going to get. What you will get when you sign up on the link that my colleague will share in the chat here is a precursor to this much more in-depth profile evaluation. But you do need to have an initial conversation with a study abroad advisor. Please click on the link and register for it. And afterwards, once you enroll, we have a much more in-depth evaluation, and we ask you a lot of questions. We ask you about your preferences, your dreams, your aspirations, your short-term goals, long-term goals, your academic achievements, your professional achievements, your family circumstances, your budget, your weather preferences. We understand end-to-end about your needs, and then we use that to come back to you with a set of university recommendations, programs that you can apply to. And we will classify these as ambitious, practical, and safe, depending on our judgment based on our experience as to how well they would fit your profile, right? So after you enroll for our admissions counseling service, you will be given a short list of at least 12 universities, typically sometimes 18 or 20 universities, depending on the package that you enroll for. And these can even be across countries. So you can pick 2 countries, you can pick 3 countries. It's always good to have backup options. So we will give you all the information about the university with in-depth information as to where we can, what is the application requirement of that university, what are the, what is it that they look to from students, and on what criteria they make their decision, what is the application fee, what is the deadline, and what are the reasons for which we have recommended that university to you, right? And in our opinion, why do we think it's a good fit for you, right? So remember, we have seen students get accepted and rejected so many universities that by now we have formed our own intuitive algorithm and our own logic as to how the process goes on. And therefore, to maximize your chances, we give you certain university recommendations, right? Now, you can go through these university recommendations, and then you can shortlist a certain number of universities that you want, for which you want our support in helping you craft your essays. And we do know that universities will want a statement of purpose from you. It's a 1 to 1.5 page essay where you talk about your academic and professional journey and why you're a good fit for that particular program, and what you plan to do after you graduate, and why that university, why you've chosen that institute. Similarly, you need letters of recommendation or LOR from your professors or your managers, your supervisors. And so we can actually help you in crafting these essays, but purely based on your inputs. They are, so we take in your inputs, your original story, and then we weave a narrative which is compelling and which makes a strong case to the university as to why they should consider you. So with all of this, you will be able to submit your application successfully, right? And then you will actually, you will find that there are a lot of universities where you can you'll have so many different application fonts to fill. And if you're confused, we can definitely guide you in filling those forms as well. So this is something else that I wanted to point out. So there is also the guidance in terms of the application form. And afterwards, once you have submitted everything by the deadline, we can guide you to choose the university and also to apply for your visa process, your student visa. How do you go about the student visa? For those applying for the US, there is an interview with the US consulate officer that can be quite nerve-wracking. So we can coach you for that and give you the confidence and the clarity that you need to share your story with them. And we can also help you with the last mile support, such as the admissions, such as financing your education, applying for scholarships, applying for education loans, as well as your pre-departure needs. So why I'm sharing with you this process is that this is what all of our students went through, and they certainly got accepted, to the topmost universities out there, right? So this is something that definitely I would strongly encourage you to think about. So maybe I can actually share with you, just to give you some clarity, some of our students and how they went about the process, right? So, so one moment here. Let me actually share with you some of our Carnegie Mellon students as well, and I think then you can get some additional context on this. All right. So if you're able to see my screen, these are actually well, we have a lot of students, so probably I can just shortlist. So these are all some of our students who went to Carnegie Mellon University. You can see that they all matriculated to Carnegie Mellon, CMU. You can see what program they did there. And this is just to give you an idea of what their profile was like, which university they did their undergrad in, what was their GPA like, did they have any work experience beforehand, which part of India. As you can see, we have students from all over the country, and that is definitely something that we're proud of. We've guided students from around India, from outside India, and maybe I can just pick one of our students and just share how a typical, this is not like the one profile, but maybe I can just share with you. These were her test scores. You can see that Carnegie Mellon was actually her top preference. She reported her scores to it, for free. This is her academic background. Not many publications, but fantastic academic internship, research internship, a lot of hackathons that she participated. No work experience, but very clear about her long-term goals and her short-term goals. So, these are some of the things that you want to consider in terms of, how you want to go about your journey, right? So many students, they don't really think through how did they go about. So you can see that she got different offers. She got accepted at University of Maryland, College Park, Carnegie Mellon. She got accepted to Purdue. She declined the offer. She also got accepted to Georgia Institute of Technology. So we can help you apply to different universities, and then you can choose which ones you want us to help you apply to. And we strongly recommend that you make a choice of ambitious universities, practical universities, safe universities, and so on. So, right. And like I said earlier, we also guide our students on how to go about presenting your statement of purpose. A lot of us in India are not really trained to write about ourselves in our schooling. We haven't had the opportunity to present a compelling narrative on why you should select us to join your institute, right? So we haven't had that experience, and what we do at Galvanize is that we take your story and we turn it into a compelling narrative, and the same goes for the letters of recommendation or the other aspects as well. Right. So like I said, coming to the visa process, also you can select the university, and then once you have selected the university, we will, go about gathering the documentation that you need, help you apply for the appointment, train you on how you need to go about answering the questions and so on. So pretty much all the steps that you need are right there. And then we can, you can sort of, we go through and then based on that, you can sort of decide. So the way I like to put it is that we do have students from all over the country, from different institutes. And I've just picked IIT here because, there's quite a few of our students are from different IITs, and similarly you can pick up pretty much any institute, and I love the fact that there are students from all over the country that we can help, and it makes us stay up to date. It fills us with purpose on a daily basis, that we are able to guide students from all corners of the nation and outside, from different countries as well. We've had students from outside India also. So it is just I would say that as someone who has experienced the study abroad journey myself, to be able to do that in a scalable way for the next generation is so fulfilling. And I can say this on behalf of our team as well. When our students get accepted to top programs, and we know that it's changing their life, it's changing the life of their families as well. And it's a very satisfying, experience for us. So that is something that I just wanted to give you a very, very quick highlight, into what you could possibly expect when you enroll with Galvanize, and how we guided all the different students that I showed you about. So before we wrap up, now that I've shown you how Galvanize can guide you, would you like to have a profile evaluation with one of our study abroad advisors that can help you understand a potential path for you, and then help you make a decision as to whether or not you would like to avail of our guidance formally for your admissions? Please let us know. I'm going to keep it open for a few more seconds. So a whole lot of you have answered, and some of you are still responding. So just keep in mind that there's a link that we are sharing in the chat here. So if you can click on this link, you can schedule a profile evaluation session, and one of our study abroad advisors will reach you as soon as possible. And so please feel free to schedule. You can schedule a Google Meet session. You can have a conversation with an admissions expert if you wish, and then you can decide how to go about the process for you. Okay, great. Glad to know that more than 75% of you would actually like to have a detailed conversation with our study abroad advisor, which brings me to the end of our session today. So do take down our phone number. This is our email address. Definitely you can let us know if you have any further questions. We'll be happy to clarify it for you. And once again, thank you so much for attending today's session. I know that JR and Kari, they could give us an hour from their busy schedule, but if you have some more questions, we can also try and reach out to them directly on your behalf. Maybe we can compile some of your questions and reach out to them. And in the meanwhile, if you have your sight set on universities like CMU, and there are so many of them, top-notch universities, definitely start the process early. The most important advice that I would like to give you is to start early, not to do things late, not to leave things for the last moment, not to procrastinate, because it's a very competitive world out there. There are a lot of students who are working really hard, who are doing things consistently, who have bright ideas. They're very smart. They're on it, and they're doing what they need to do every day. So you will also have to keep up. And all they need to do is just to make sure you do the right thing at the right time in the right manner, get the right guidance. Getting into a top institute can change your life. It can open many pathways and doors for you. The return on investment will be fantastic and substantial. So just make sure that you do everything in your capacity to increase the chances of getting accepted to a top school. And whatever guidance that we provide at Galvanize, all we request our students is that they follow our instructions, which come from years of experience and thousands of students. And we would love to see your outputs, and that is really what we are here for. So thank you so much. I appreciate all of you taking the time to attend the session. I would love to hear any feedback that you have, any ideas you have for future sessions. What would you like to hear about? And do let us know. So if you've submitted the profile evaluation form, you will definitely be receiving a phone call from our team. In case it's a phone number that you haven't seen before, you're not familiar with it, do pick up our call anyway. Or you can also reach the number and the email address on your screen as well if you prefer to initiate your call. So once again, I wish you all the very best. Thank you so much, and may you all get the admit that you dream and hope for, and the best admit that's possible for your profile. So I wish you all the very best. On behalf of Galvanize Global Education, this is Pavitra signing off. Bye.